time now to review headlines of today's newspapers. And we begin with the newspaper of record, This Day newspapers on the Saturday.
All right, we'll start with This Day on Saturday, the newspaper of record. Let's take it from top to bottom. I think that is a beautiful copy today, the cover of This Day, and I like the tone of practically all the stories. If we begin with the window story, it says Ankara, Nigerian fabrics dominate spotlight at parties globally. That's our own Ankara, and I think that for This Day to have put this on, the window for this newspaper on Saturday, I think that that's a strong message that that is being communicated, not just about local brand. Well, I mean, I've not appropriated it. Adire is our own.
Because there's a real rise of Adire right now, and I think we need to celebrate. And Ashoke also being used in modern clothing. So I don't know if I would say Ankara is our own, but I do agree.
Maybe in terms of the fabric, right? But in terms of what you do with it, I think it's wholly Nigerian.
But we're seeing what we're doing with our own stuff like Adire, like Ashoke, and we're seeing it get modern.
There's an issue with Adire these days because of the people from the other side who are now mass producing and stuff like that. I don't want to mention where they're from, but you know where they're from. But what I'm saying is that I like the way that the editor, put this in the major prominence for Ankara. There are many Ankara festivals, all over the place. And for the editor to be saying that it now dominates global parties, I think that's an important thing from economic point of view, from cultural promotions point of view, from a tourism point of view. I think that it speaks a good message.
It definitely does. But I think I would also look at this story from the manufacturing point of view, our textile industry in general. Considering that, and again, for me, I would say, why did we start with Ankara? Because if we're looking why did we start the story with Ankara, you could have generally, to be honest, fabrics, African fabrics, West African fabrics, Nigerian fabrics. If you want to talk about our, like Adesewa said, our Ashoke, our Adire, which are the two, Akwete actually now, which is the Igbo version.
That's what the story say.
Yes.
It says Ankara and then Nigerian fabrics.
So I'm saying that considering the origins of Ankara is not originally...
What is the origin of Ankara?
Ankara began with the Dutch factory that brought it. Basically, it was popularized in West Africa because of our bold print.
In Abidjan.
Yes.
Because I remember the song in those days, Ankara Yebe Yebe Okola Abidjan.
Exactly. But it's not authentically a Nigerian. But we have owned it.
We are appropriating it.
We have appropriated it. But then I'm just saying, with regards to our manufacturing industry,
so
we
maybe
do have...
more of Ashoke.
Because we don't have textile manufacturers within Nigeria,
right.
that this story could have also been a means of spotlighting for a global audience. So I'm saying that...
Will Isiagu come in play when we're talking local fabric? There's also a debate about the origin of Isiagu too. And that cropped up when Epis used Isiagu for their host and hostesses.
I remember, which was cute if you ask me.
It's a very important story under that window, above the masthead.
Above the masthead?
Yes.
Ibas preaches peace as Rivers hosts controversial local government election today. Shouldn't he be doing a countdown by now? I think it's 6 months. That's the sole administrator
When does it end? When does the 6 month expire?
September, I believe. Shouldn't it be?
Well,
or is he hoping for an extension? A lot of people think that they shouldn't be supervising a local government election, given the fact that you can bring a non-democrat in a non-democratic arrangement to now be pretending to be, upholding democratic values. I think that they should have allowed the gentleman to leave one thing settled down, in River State. We didn't need to wait for the whole 6 months. But now that we have waited, let's just ease him off so that he won't start preaching what is not gifted.
This may also be an audition for, by the time this ends, just the possibility of showing that he has capacity. So audition for capacity, just in case he does desire.
What will he be auditioning for?
Well, let me not call it an audition. Let me say a show of capacity, just in case he decides to actually get in the ring and make this an official democratic situation.
Well in the Navy, he was a naval officer, wasn't he?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, as a governor, the Navy and being a governor.
So he might want to run
he
in
might want
Akwa
to
Ibom
run exactly
where he comes from.
Exactly,
Yeah, but you
and he
shouldn't
might
go
decide
through the sole administratorship route.
Well, yes.
You know, let
Which
him
is why I
campaign
called it
out.
an audition.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Below the masthead, Nigeria, Brazil, Barca agreement sparks optimism in the aviation sector. Beautiful story. Good news from the trip of the president to Brazil, where Air Peace will now has the Barca agreement that will be able to take Nigerians direct from Lagos to
Brazil.
Where
Would it
Brazil?
be Rio de Janeiro? Would it be Sao Paulo? Would it be
Exactly, or
Brasilia?
Brasilia.
I don't like to sound like a pessimist here, or maybe just a realist
pessimist.
here. But we have, because very importantly, and there are lots of people who are activists who have been working towards this type of agreement across Africa, because it is incredibly expensive and incredibly difficult to travel from one African state to another. If you want to go to Abidjan today, we have a few airlines who are entering the space, but lots of times to go from one African country to another, you have to first go back to Europe.
Yes.
And so while this is a nice agreement to see, I think what we need more, especially considering the AFCTA, especially considering the demand, right, for us increasing our trade, intra-African trade, then this is the type of thing that should be focused across our West African brothers, perhaps, across our sub-Saharan brothers and sisters, perhaps.
Wouldn't it also speak to value for value? Because in the sense that it's not just about the agreement, it's about the larger picture of what this bilateral agreement is going to provide. So I think that's what this also speaks to, in the sense that if at all we want to talk about going to other African countries, what are we actually benefiting?
What is the volume of trade?
What is the volume of trade between
them?
these African countries, which I think influences some
Brazil
of these
comes with good news if we're able to get it right with them. And I think that given the sort of a bit of cultural affinity that some part of Nigeria already has with Brazil, things can work well. The area, I celebrate what Air Peace is doing and how this will work out. The area that I think that they should just work on, just like it told the chairman of Air Peace the other time when he was starting the Gatwick thing, was to also learn from what has happened before. This is not the first time that West Africa will be seeking to go to Brazil directly. Less than 10 years ago, when I think Ethiopian Airlines was trying to make Lomé, Togo, the hub of West Africa, they were also flying. They flew directly to Brazil, and it was barely 7.5 hours, just like the one that Air Peace has done and will do when it works out well. But then, why did it fail? The Lomé hub arrangement and going to Brazil. Let's learn from that so that do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. But also, for me, because the Air Peace deal also comes with the deal for the maintenance of aircraft here. And I also think sometimes we should be careful about taking a private company's win as a Nigerian win. Congratulations to Air Peace, but I don't know if it's congratulations to Nigeria.
I was going to point that out because at the same time, I am incredibly happy for this, but looking at Air Peace in isolation now, this is a major win internationally. But what about the local capacity? We still have a lot of Nigerians complaining about irregularities with their service locally.
Somebody has to step in. This is more than 2 years of the new administration of Festus Keyamo there. It is not enough to condemn why was Air Nigeria or Nigeria Air failed. It is, what are you doing to have your own flag carrier? Air Peace as fill the gap. Is filling the gap neatly. But then it shouldn't be Air Peace alone.
Exactly. It shouldn't be.
So,
I feel like
so what is the federal government doing? What is Festus Keyamo doing about that? Not just asking those who are supposed to be facing the law to go and be ambassadors. Those are the type of things that we should have Keyamo to do. 2 more important stories on the cover of this day before we go. Jonathan has now ruled himself out of 2027 contest. Says his cousin is speaking. And then the rider, Bala Muhammad, PDP considering former president Obi for presidential ticket. Isn't it interesting? But of course, I know that APC has already responded to the possibility of having former President Goodluck Jonathan. APC says, you are a statesman, and we respect that, but then don't push your luck because you cannot unseat President Tinubu.
I will say that
go on.
That will be an interesting. I think that will be an interesting race to see. You know, I would not advise it, again, because I have to say that I do agree on President Goodluck, former President Goodluck Jonathan, being an elder statesman at this time and running back into the race at this time. At this time.
His name cropped up 2 years ago, you remember?
Yes,
You know.
but this is first term. You know, I'm not saying it's a shoo-in for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but I would say cropping up into the race at this time, we need to be careful to not push people into spaces that may create bigger issues.
I wouldn't describe Goodluck Jonathan as an elder statesman. I believe he's in his 60s. Only him and Peter Obi are men in their...
age thing?
No, I'm saying, you know, if we're talking about elder statesmen...
Who's an elder?
Exactly.
I would believe that President Bola Tinubu would be considered an elder. Quite a few grown men call him daddy.
When he leaves the seat.
Yeah,
All right,
but I'm saying, but I understand what you're saying. That you're saying in terms of his profile
Prestige and
and the
profile.
prestige. You know, he is considered an international superstar because of the democratic credibility he showed by handing over power to Buhari, and he's celebrated, you know, across the world for that.
All right, let's before we move to another newspaper, let's end the Disney review on a good note. With renewed confidence, stock market gains 26.01 trillion naira in 8 months. Isn't that beautiful? At least on paper, you know, for the value that it represents. I think that this is something that we, you know, part of the reason why the government is saying that we may, you know, things might still be a bit difficult, but we're not doing too badly when it comes to the nominal values of what the economy is saying. So for the stock market, the gains are more than 26 trillion in just 8 months. You can't say that that is too bad, given where we're coming from. You know, so that will be any other paper that you want to go?
I think The Guardian is very interesting today.
Okay.
The lead story on The Guardian is about medical tourism, and it says the reversal narratives, a myth or a reality, and that's The Guardian weekend newspaper there. Of course, that's very important when we consider, you know, this idea that people are coming to Nigeria for cheaper medical services while Nigerians are fleeing abroad for more maybe complex medical surgeries or for healthcare. When we have this conversation also sometimes, I always try to remind people that we can't celebrate whether people are taking advantage of a poorly regulated system, whether it's organ transplants and such things, or whether people are coming here for cosmetic surgeries, which might be poorly regulated and quite cheaper than it would be in other climes like America or Turkey. But what is also very significant here is that Nigerians should not have to leave the country for important medical care. And so we have to balance it. If people are coming here for cosmetic surgery to look better on social media for a cheaper price, that's not the same as Nigerians having to leave the country for significant medical care or brain surgeries or cancer care, you know. So we also need to make sure that we are investing in the infrastructure for our medical systems, the necessary ones, not just the ones that are, you know, okay, everybody goes to Turkey for hair transplant, but they also go there for significant medical procedures, and that's what we need to invest in.
All right. Yes. Before we go to the nation, that's what you like to do.
Wow.
There's an important
to
thought regarding the airpiece and the, you know, BASA thing. You know, basically to say that doing a BASA with Brazil doesn't stop them from dealing with West Africa, and I think that that's an important thing. Yes, do your international, you know, but also don't neglect.
You know, my thing here is thing is just priorities. I think they've gone to Brazil now 3 times in 9 months.
And that's the federal government.
The federal government, yes. But specifically about what we're prioritizing here. But you know, I hear Brazil is good, so I hear it's a good time.
Lovely.
It still boils down to trade. It still boils down to the value for value. But you know, again, like Steve rightly said, I will wrap things up with the nation.
Yeah.
And on a Saturday, the top story there, interesting, Imo and Ebonyi pay rise. Governors under pressure to raise minimum wage. Move by Southeast States commendable, says Ajero Plateau, don't push government finances to the edge. And Taraba, no funds available for increment. You know, and this sort of pushback to the pressure to raise minimum wage, you know, at a time where we only just spoke about increment for, passports for Nigerians, there's such it's not available, it cannot happen, it's almost like hitting a dead end, and we do not want to get to a time where it now boils down to going back to the striking and the lack of availability for basic amenities for Nigerians, only for them to get this minimum wage addressed.
Absolutely. But sadly, the one that we won't be able to touch in details because we have to run now would be the lead on the on the cover of Saturday Punch. Mixed fortune. Sorry, let me get that. I think it's something about ASU, isn't it?
On the Punch today.
On the Punch, on the cover of today's.
No, it was actually about the power supply improvement.
Oh, is it about the power supply? Yes. Oh, okay, fine. Mixed fortunes as power supply improves. Okay, that's fine. All right, it looks like we really have to run now, isn't it? Given that time is almost, spent. All right, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching and do stay safe. I'm Steve Ayorinde.
Oh, thanks for sticking with us. I'm Adesua Giwa Osage.
And I am Kachi Ofia from the rest of our team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.